There's such a heavy emphasis on the first 5 minutes because we're in a first impressions business.
We're not trying to figure out if you are a good or a bad person and then hire the good people and not the bad people. We're trying to figure out if you are a good fit for our team.
The way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
Welcome back to the Coffee Sometimes podcast. And this week we talked about Choco Coffee, a washed coffee from Ecuador. We brewed it 3 ways: on espresso, cappuccino, and pour over. We even started a new segment where we graded the packaging and the flavor of the coffee, so tune in for that. We also covered chapter 18 of Unreasonable Hospitality, improvisational hospitality, thinking on your feet, making moments of delight. Lastly, we covered how to get hired at Valor or anywhere. Some really good stuff and some stories from our experience interviewing hundreds or maybe thousands, probably hundreds of people. If you haven't already, make sure to like, subscribe, and review this podcast on your podcast app of choice or on YouTube. I like YouTube. And right on to our sponsor for this week's episode. It's us again, the Valor Wholesale Program. If you are a business, an office, or a church, or a coffee shop in need of delicious specialty coffee, drop us a line at wholesale@valor.coffee. One of the things that we focus on is consistency. And let me tell you, from ordering from other roasters, my experience managing cafes, consistency has become of utmost importance whenever ordering from a wholesale roaster. One week you have a delicious product and you're dialing in the espresso, it's tasting wonderful. The next week you order the same exact offering and it's completely different and much harder to nail. And that's why we've implemented so many practices to deliver a consistent product. Because if we can create a great product one time and not another time, it doesn't mean anything. So if you're interested in partnering with us, drop us a line at wholesale@valor.coffee and request some free samples. Now on to the show.
Bombs away.
Ross, what are you doing back there, dude?
I'm brewing up some coffee.
Whoa.
You already know.
Are you mic'd up?
Yeah, I'm mic'd up. Got a little shotgun back here. Can't see it.
Editor's note, we forgot to put an SD card in Ross's recorder. We mention it here in a second, but that's why you can't hear anything he says. He doesn't say anything important, I promise. We'll be better, okay? We'll be better.
Ross, you're so
Coffee
tiny. You're
smells
so
good.
tiny. You're a little guy.
I'm just a little guy.
Hey, little guy.
Elevator?
I don't think that was an elevator. I think those were stairs.
Oh, you're right.
He's not even an escalator.
Get with it. The reason we're doing this is a continuation. Oh, EK43. In case you don't know, we are now weekly tasting coffee that you send us. So if you're interested in sending us some coffee,
You're getting choked up.
I haven't had my coffee yet. If you are interested in sending us some coffee, then you can do so by sending us a direct message to our Instagram at CoffeeSometimesPod, and we will get back to you with an address. We're going to be real. This segment is going to be brutal.
Dun, dun, dun.
We're going to be honest. It is an unabashed, would you say,
I couldn't have said it better myself.
review of your coffee, its packaging, its flavor profile,
User experience.
of the packaging.
Stuff that we're thinking about and talking about all the time with our own stuff.
Yeah, so if you think that you can get the Coffee Sometimes stamp of approval, you go ahead and hit us up and send us your beans. But as you can see, we got Ross back there brewing up some fun drinks.
Yeah, because sometimes we get espresso beans. So we have to...
yeah, they send us espresso beans for sure.
You got to... Hey,
We're kidding.
we got to bust that myth.
We're
you
kidding.
know?
Yeah.
The only
Once
thing
and
that-
for all. Whoa.
Want to see this packaging?
Yeah.
Who's going to catch it? Oh! Athlete.
Goodness.
You're ready for football, baby.
All right. How about this? Huh?
Oh, do I need to... Oh, no, wait. I'll get my face in front of it.
Yeah, there we go. Just like that. So this coffee is from Choco Coffee in Athens, Georgia. Longtime listener, engager, friend, Brandon
Oh, wow.
has sent this into us, and we are just stoked to try it. So thank you, Brandon.
I hate to
Choco.
put you on the spot. Do you know Brandon's role?
Yeah, he roasts the coffee.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
can't wait.
So last week we had split log. And so we
6 seconds, guys.
sweet
Sweet shot.
shot, baby. Once again, we have the not custom bag, but the label.
Oh yeah.
And as far as labels on a bag go, I like this a lot. It really jumps off the page for me.
Oh yeah. The design has a good grid to it for sure. They
We have an Italian Amaro bottle.
Ross.
Wow, Ross.
You guys know what that is?
Yes, Ross.
Of course.
I know things. So I agree. They've got the vertical letters, which I personally like. We dabble in that ourselves, and then a good grid profile there. Everything's just aligned. Yeah, just get your head behind it. We're still working out this whole autofocus thing on the camera, but yeah, good bold colors. I like the like purplish pink on blue. You see that?
Service.
Is that a
right there.
toucan?
Yeah, it's a toucan.
Need hands?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Ross, how was the rip, man? Bag rip.
The bag rip?
Yeah.
It was a standard, white bag rip, which is good.
Yeah. Solid bag rip. You didn't have to break anything to get into it, which was nice. Any other notes on the packaging? All right off the bat.
Oh,
Looks
wow.
like a stop sign at the bottom, kinda.
Okay.
Like a stop sign, but the sides are long.
Semi-octagon.
Semi-octagon,
Okay.
but I like it.
Yeah, a cool thing about Choco, I was just doing a little recon. All their coffees are from farms in Ecuador. You don't see that all the time. I'm trying to think of, is there anyone else in our neighborhood that does origin specific besides maybe Land of a Thousand Hills with Rwanda?
I saw someone recently in the Atlanta market who is now doing origin, like I think Colombia specific, and I can't remember who it is.
I know Con Leche is a cafe that served just Colombian coffees, but I think they were getting it from Radio, who roasts different origins. But Ross, thank you for making a cappuccino,
You're welcome.
Ross Flex, dude.
for making an espresso.
You're welcome.
I don't know how to show you guys this other than just to take a picture and drop it in during the edit, but Ross just ripped a Rosetta. And
It's
really
the working
pretty.
man's pour.
Yeah, how about that?
Wouldn't you
Quid.
say?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Just
yeah.
rip out a Rosetta.
The working man's pour.
All right. Ethan, you don't drink dairy. Are you going to have a spit cup or
I'll just have a little bit.
oh, you're going to have a little bit?
Yeah.
my
A
goodness.
little introduction of dairy into your diet?
Yeah. Slow and steady, boys.
All right. Hey, cheers.
Cheers. Hey, so the format for this, the way we kind of came up with the espresso cappuccino drip is because it's not that creative. Every time we go into a coffee shop together, this is what we collectively order under one order. We don't even have to ask each other. We just walk up and we say, we'll have an espresso, a cappuccino, and a drip. Sometimes it'll be a pour over, which this is. And whoever orders it will just decide on what coffee to get. I feel like it's usually you. Why do you usually take the liberty to order, huh?
I just love talking to people.
Yeah, you do.
That espresso is awesome.
Well, I had my first sip and it was really bright, and I was like, "Uh-oh!" But
Yeah.
then,
You had your second sip.
no, it just evolved.
It
was chocolatey,
This
it's
is
sweet.
It's bright.
bright.
It's, yeah, man.
I know the coffee is going to be a little hot, but hey,
Yeah. Yeah, and this is how, whenever we roast coffee,
Oh my goodness.
sometimes we roast coffee just for the fun of it. Like we have a crazy offering and we'll like never put it on espresso or, never put it on drip or whatever. We have a specific use for it in mind, but evaluating these coffees that you guys send us, what better way to evaluate them than in espresso, drip, aka pour over, and a cappuccino?
Bro, we didn't put the SD card in that recorder.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
oh man, so
Hey.
you're
You get to watch the Coffee Sometimes podcast as it grows into its new space. So bear with us.
Oopsie.
I'm sure you said like nothing.
I
important.
didn't say much, honestly.
It's just us being like, "Duh, duh."
Yeah. And
We,
I'm like,
we made the comment about you being mic'd up.
yeah, and I
so-
was, but no,
Yeah.
I wasn't SD'd up.
What's standing out to you guys on the flavor profile, the flavor experience?
Honestly, this espresso is like incredible. It's so balanced. That's what I'm always after in an espresso. Like no matter how bright or how subdued it is, I just want balance.
Yeah.
Between the brightness / acidity and the sweetness.
How'd you make it?
I did 19 grams in, like 47 grams out in 26 seconds, obviously.
On the EK?
On the EK43. Which EK43, like if you're pulling espresso on there, you can get away with some faster shot times in our experience. But this one, it just kind of pulled. It looked like, it kind of looked like a normal grinder because like when you pull an EK espresso, you know how it has a slow start and it's like dribbly and then just gushes. Mm-hmm. This one didn't look like that. It just looked like if you pulled, a shot on a grinder or whatever, on a normal grinder. But
on one of my YouTube videos where I pulled an EK shot that was in 22 seconds, I had so many people commenting, being like, why is the shot only in 22 seconds?
Oh.
Like one person commented, I thought, why 22? I thought it was supposed to be 30. Like, it was just like an all-encompassing espresso.
Yeah.
It should be 30 seconds.
I think that's a part of Starbucks training. I don't know if this person was Starbucks, but you wouldn't think that they're like looking at their shot times, but I'm pretty sure they do. And I'm pretty sure they have like a specific, I think it's like 19 seconds. Whoa. If I'm not mistaken. I could be spreading
It's
this
like,
information.
how can we extract enough? I saw a weird graph. I think it's in that book, The Physics of Filter Coffee, by someone.
Busted.
Tofi Tofferson?
Yeah, by Tofi. And it stated that, there's a ideal range of extraction percentage that's usually like 18 to 22% has been the traditional discussion. But they said that like 14 to 18% is universally like, oh, this is bad coffee. But like 0 to 14%, people are much more likely to enjoy it than 14 to 17%. It's like something about the compounds in that 14 to 17% range are just really gross.
Huh. Wow.
I'm tracking.
So maybe, you remember when we were talking about why do people underdevelop and under-extract their coffee often?
Yeah.
And how we had been under-extracting our coffee for a long time. 2 different episodes right there. How about that?
Links below?
Yeah. I think that is a big part of the reason.
Yeah. Well, on that episode, we were talking about how when you under-extract coffee, especially when you have a fruity coffee, you just get that one fruit note and nothing else. Mm-hmm. And so someone with a palate that's not that experienced can just taste that and be like, oh, fruity coffee. That's interesting. And then that's kind of enough to give it the check mark.
All right, we ready to score this? I have to pull up our scoring prompt.
Please.
Yeah. We're going to be scoring, y'all.
I'll say I'm so glad that we did an espresso and a cappuccino. I really enjoyed those a lot more than I'm enjoying the pour over.
Yeah.
I feel like I could have scored this coffee a lot lower if I had just had a pour over.
Wow.
It's weird. I feel like it's losing a little bit of meat to it in the pour over.
Do you think, did something go wrong with the pour over, or do you think you like totally crushed it?
I mean, it was good time, good flow rate. I had a good time.
I think it tastes a little more green as a filter.
Yeah.
You get that?
Yes.
Which I don't know if that's an extraction thing or a roasting thing.
Hey, send us your curves, Brandon.
Hey,
We'll take a look.
we'll see. You said they roasted on a Diedrich?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Very cool. We used to roast on a Diedrich. You guys remember that?
Good times.
All right, I'm pulling up the scoring prompt.
We should score our coffee one day. Like, promise to be not biased at all.
Yeah, there
We
we
would probably be harder on ourselves than anyone else, honestly.
For sure.
All right, so we've got a few different areas we're going to score. It's going to be we're going to start with packaging, and we're going to score 1 to 5 on the content of the packaging, 1 to 10 on the aesthetic of the packaging, and 1 to 10 on the UX of the packaging. And then with taste, We're going to score 1 to 5 on crunch of the beans.
Oh, yeah. Let me get a couple beanies out.
I want to do that after I'm really done tasting the coffee, though. We're going to do 1 to 10 on flavor and then 1 to 10 on enjoyability. So,
Kind of just preference.
These aren't really super scientific scores, but I think that they're super relevant to if people are going to like your coffee when they walk through your doors.
Yep. All right, call us out.
All right. We're going to start with content of packaging. All right. You guys want to just go on 3 out of 5?
Out of 5, right?
Yeah.
Let me see it one more time. Let me see it one
All
more
right.
time.
All right.
All right. I got it.
All right. All right. Yeah, I'm just getting one more look.
Yeah.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 3.
4.
Why'd you go to 3?
I really enjoy if you can fit a little bio about the coffee. And I understand that comes with the territory of often having custom packaging where you can do the label like ours.
Yeah.
But, if I want to know more about this coffee, I have to go to a website, which also isn't on here.
Yeah.
And
That is a big knock.
so that's why I would go 3. Where you guys want to settle on that? 3.5 or 4?
Well, yeah, 3.5.
All right, cool.
Yeah, my thought on that is we've always struggled to put the word coffee on our packaging, and it says coffee in huge letters on the label.
It looks good.
And it does look good.
It's a good type.
I assume Leopoldo Andrade is the farmer. It's cool to shout out the farmer. Major points for that. It is one of the largest texts on the bag, so that's good representation for the farmer. But if I'm a new coffee buyer and I look at that, I'm like, what does that mean? Just always like to do the is this dummy proof?
Yeah.
Kind of check is what I always go to.
I always care about reading a farmer bio, but if I'm ever on someone's website and all of the titles of the coffee are the farmers' names, I will say it does make it harder for me to find what I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's a trade-off because it's easy to not represent and celebrate those farmers by just, bending the knee to whatever your customers understand. But I think there's a balance between those two things.
Yeah. Cool. How about aesthetic out of 10? 1, 2, 3, 6.
7.
6, 7, 8. I
7.
mean, if we're just being like super cut and dry, it's like I think a 10 aesthetic is usually going to be like custom packaging,
Right.
Yeah.
like moving into that direction of like really being able to do whatever you want on it. So that's my main knock. For what it is, I think it's like almost as good as you can get.
Well, yeah, that is a good clarification because when I'm thinking of this, I'm always thinking about it in terms of for what it is. Like for it being a classic white bag with a huge label, not custom packaging, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
For
But
sure.
I don't know if we should do it that way. I feel like it should just be like, no matter what stage of your company that you're at, like the score is the score.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Like, I don't know. I'm just like throwing some out. Just like Onyx would probably be a little closer to a 10 because
Yeah.
their packaging is insanely expensive.
right.
Not saying that's a smart business decision for any of you out there starting a roastery, but because we did this vibe for a long time. But this reminds me of have you guys ever seen Proud Mary's white bags that they put the huge
Yeah.
label on the front?
Yes.
It really you're making the most of the space you have.
Yep.
And
Big
I respect
colors
that.
too.
So we're
Really
gonna go
vibrant.
with a 7 on that.
7.
One of you guys want to keep score as we're going?
Sure.
We've got a 3.5 and a 7 so far. All right. User experience
Out of 10.
out of 10.
And this is not like biased to where they're at in their company.
Yeah, correct. All right.
Okay.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Out of 10?
Out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 6. Hey, we're
All right,
aligned on that one.
6.
You rip a bag open and you open it up and there's coffee inside and you pour it out.
Yeah, it was a little hard to reseal it. It took me a couple tries. And our last packaging was
just like
way
that.
worse than this. But yeah.
It's more of like it's not what you're doing, it's what you aren't able to do.
Yeah.
yet.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Been there.
Want to give room to grow.
Yeah. And, if a coveted unboxing experience is like an Apple product,
Yep.
If that's the 10, then we're not quite there yet. All right, keeping score.
Yep.
Now time for taste. Let's crunch, boys.
Let's crunch.
This one's just for us.
I hear it reverberating in this room.
Gong, gong, gong.
Pretty tame crunch.
Yeah.
I've got some brightness.
It's funny. Different coffees do have like a varying degree of quality with crunch. Like when you crunch one coffee, it represents that coffee really well, and then the next one doesn't. I don't know why that would be, but
Is that a peaberry?
out of 10,
No, crunch I think got 5.
Crunch is out of 5. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. 1, 2, 3,
2.
3.
4.
All right, we're
3.
gonna settle on 3. That one's very not like we said. That one's for us. We might have different crunch preferences, but
Yeah.
I thought it was just pretty chocolatey, pretty tame. I got a
looking-
little bit of brightness.
Yeah, I'm looking for accuracy with the crunch. Like a 5 with the crunch would be like, this tastes exactly like if you cupped the coffee.
How about that?
Tell us your thoughts on the crunch in the comments below.
Yeah, if you're crunching, comment.
Stay crunching.
All right, flavor of the coffee. This
Ooh,
one.
okay.
This one is all encompassing. We're really thinking about profile, enjoyability, finish, sweetness.
Wait, so it's not. This isn't enjoyability though.
This is not enjoyability. You're right. That's a
Flavor.
different one.
Flavor is. I mean, how do we quantify that? Just like
Yeah, I mean, because that's the thing. It's like an anaerobic natural can have great flavor for me, but I usually don't enjoy those coffees that much.
yeah, or it could have a maybe more objectively bad flavor, such as like potato, or we've talked about like lemongrass and
Banana.
like rotten banana. Some of these like
Winey
defective
stuff.
defective flavors. Yeah, definitely winey for naturals.
So this is more of a understanding this is a washed Ecuadorian coffee.
Yeah.
And that's what we're drinking.
Yep.
Out of 10?
Out of 10, and we're doing this across espresso, cappuccino, and filter.
Yeah, just average them all. All right, I'm ready.
All right, I'm ready.
I am also ready.
Whole numbers only.
Oh, great question.
Yes, because we're already averaging 3 numbers.
All right,
so.
all right. 1, 2, 3, 7.
6.
Cool. 6.5.
6.5.
Yeah, I mean, it's a chocolatey coffee. It has some brightness. It's just not like a complex, mind-blowing coffee. I would say on espresso, it was great.
So the tasting notes are sorghum, peach, and roasted almond.
Whoa.
All right, now let's
Yeah,
taste
now
it
think
after.
all of these things.
Do you feel like sorghum is more of like a body identifier sometimes?
Yeah, this coffee doesn't seem super syrupy. I don't know if it was just... I think the pour over would reflect that. I think your big shot was really good, but it did diminish probably the potential it has as far as body. But I get the peach. It's got that like brighter side of stone fruit.
It tastes like an underripe peach to me, like more of a green peach.
A little sour.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Like
feel
a,
that.
like a peach ring.
yeah. And then almonds. I always have such a hard time picking up almonds. But
Yeah, nuts and
I
chocolates.
guess.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So 6.5, we said.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Enjoyability. 1, 2, 3, 8.
6.
Ross.
I didn't like the pour over. It's not. I don't enjoy it. But this cappuccino and the espresso is awesome. And this is why I love to pull coffees that are more subtle and less complex on espresso. Because as we've heard before, espresso is like looking at coffee through a magnifying glass. So you're going to look closer at a coffee that is not necessarily overtly complex. And I think that's a good reason to put a coffee on espresso. And part of the reason why I think free throw doesn't cup as well on the cupping table, but is awesome on espresso. Because as you look closer at it that complexity comes out.
Well, what's our total?
Our total?
Yeah.
What was that last score?
You want to give it 7.5?
Yeah.
We were both 8
Or
or 7.
yeah, 7.5.
Wait, I said 6.
Yeah,
we
we're gonna
both
go.
said 8.
We're gonna pull up to us. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Okay. So
Because if just one person said,
I agree about the filter brew. The cappuccino and the espresso were so delicious that it was those definitely pulled it up. If I was just going off a filter, it probably would have been like a 5 or a 6.
I think it also speaks to our own enjoyability preferences. Like,
Yeah.
I like an easy drinking coffee. I don't know if this is on every label. It'd be interesting, but it says on here, it says made to enjoy, which I think is a nice little word.
That's sweet.
But when it comes to those washed Central American coffees, I'm just like, this is just easy drinking, good, sweet coffee.
we have 6 categories, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay. 33.5
33 and a half.
out of 50.
Hey, that ain't bad.
No, that's, I mean, as far as
We're harsh.
coffees
you know?
that we've rated, it's number 1 right now.
It is
Yep.
definitely the best coffee we've had on the program. Well, we've had some good coffees on the program, but since we've started rating on the program,
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think they've been going for a super long time, so my expectations
impressive.
were not super high.
Yeah.
But I would say this exceeded my expectations. So great work, Brandon. Great work, Choco
Yep.
Coffee.
Keep going.
If you're out in Athens, go check out Choco Pronto. It's I think it's their cafe takeaway site. But yeah, I'm excited to keep sipping on this for the rest of the program.
oh yeah, mine's almost gone. All right, chapter 18, Unreasonable Hospitality. We got what, 2 more after this?
Dude, this is chapter 19. You're out of your mind.
What?
Yeah. Scaling a culture?
No, we're not on chapter 19, bud. We're on chapter 18.
Improvisational hospitality?
That's correct.
Oh, great.
Well, you were in chapter 19, so that means you already read chapter 18, though.
You already know.
Yeah, so this chapter, I think, near and dear to our hearts because
Wow.
so much of it is the things that we like to do. They call it plus ones and legends, whereas we call it tools of delight.
Ooh, nice.
And I teared up. I'm getting choked up
You
right now.
teared up?
Yeah, again.
What the
This time
heck?
I think one time I was in the bath, but this
Yeah,
time I was
I
not.
remember
Dude,
that.
you're redefining masculinity right now in this.
In real time.
Thank you, man. Thank
so
you.
quickly off the bat, you see, I don't know how many fine dining restaurants do this, but if any of you have watched the season 2 of The Bear,
Hey,
there's an episode where someone is staging at another restaurant and they overhear a guest saying that they are in Chicago and visiting and they didn't get to try deep dish pizza. So the guy runs down the street, gets deep dish pizza, brings it back, and then they plate it up really nice and make it look all fine dining-y.
Yeah.
And then later in the book they show Unreasonable Hospitality, like them reading it, and I would assume maybe they wrote that part out of this part of the book.
Dang.
hey.
But they're telling about someone who was in New York, like a table of Europeans who were about to travel home, and they were lamenting over the fact that they didn't get to try a New York style hot dog. And so they run outside and get one of these brown water hot dogs and bring it in and plate it up all nice and then take it out to them. And that experience, like they said, they were like hooping and hollering, like freaking out. And what they're going to remember from that dinner wasn't the foie gras that they had. It is the $2 hot dog from the street vendor that was plated up nice for them.
They see it on the bill for $60.
Yeah. And so this term,
I'm kidding.
legends, came from a guy who was talking about, I can't remember the exact part because I didn't highlight it, but a guy was talking about how he needed $1 million investment in his business. So they gave him a bag of 10 $100,000 chocolate, like mini chocolate bars.
Yep.
And he was like, this is legendary. And so like that thing they did cost so little, but made such a huge impact. And that's not to say all of them were at that small of scale, because they did that, but also the people who got engaged there, they would bring them out free champagne and Tiffany crystal glasses, and then they would get sent home with the Tiffany crystal glasses. Who knows how much those were?
Like 10 or 20.
Dozens of dollars.
Yeah. So maybe baker's dozens.
Baker's dozen.
Yeah. So those moments led them to form a position just for doing this.
I'm
Jeez
salivating.
I think they called it like Dreamweaver. And they had these Dreamweaver positions of people who the entire objective was that the staff was eavesdropping on the guests in their experience and then picking up certain details or researching them on Google or Instagram or whatever beforehand, finding these things and then blowing their mind with them. And it energized the entire staff, which is amazing because they had even more of a purpose at work, to find these things that they can do. And then out of that, they even created a toolkit for specific things that could be replicated. So they had all these replications, plus they would sprinkle in the one-offs that might have been like more expensive. So anyone that would come in with their luggage, they knew that they were like about to get on a plane. They would figure out if they were about to get on a plane or if they just got to New York. If they just got to New York, maybe they'd give them like a New York T-shirt or something. I don't think they said that, but people who were leaving, they would, instead of like the granola at the end, they would get like a airplane box of like snacks from 11 Madison Park to eat instead of the stale pretzels. So that got the juices flowing of like, how are we going to implement, especially the toolkit stuff?
Yeah.
Like those things are replicable and scalable and a lot easier to manage and maybe more cost effective. But I loved it.
Just to distill that down so that we and our listeners can like replicate that in their business, I'm hearing the element of surprise, unexpected surprise is key. And then also with that, just the element of personal consideration and like customizability, a custom experience. It's like whenever you're trying to give a good gift, you don't want to just give them a gift card. You want to give a thoughtful gift that is specific to that person and that they would appreciate and wouldn't necessarily expect. Maybe something they said in passing or whatever. And applying that in this case is like the $100,000 bars. Like, is it 10 grand or 100 grand? It's 100 grand.
Yeah.
It's funny. 100,000 bars, like obviously it's not a high value item, but the value comes from the consideration and the surprise.
Yeah, he has a quote. It isn't the lavishness of the gift that counts, but it's the pricelessness. So you can give a really luxurious. If the standard there and everyone knew that like you came there and then at the end you were going to walk away with a specific luxury item, that would kind of lose its luster. But it's the specificity of it that creates the lasting and meaningful experience. So it's got me thinking of how we can do that more for our people. I think of someone, maybe a first timer or a guest that comes in that's like from out of town or something. If we can pick up on a cue the first time they're in, and then the next time they're in, they're like, "Hey, we got you this. We know that you like drawing, so here's a
pencil,
a fancy pencil."
Yeah.
But doing that, but then also doing what we already do, which is first timer stickers and those sorts of things. And then maybe we have people that come in with luggage. Maybe we develop a little, like we start giving them a pack of instant coffee, and then you're gonna get on an airplane. Here you go.
Wow. So it makes the world turn, man.
Yeah.
Doing stuff like this, we call it like moments of going above and beyond. And this will translate pretty well into our meat and potatoes, but it's hard to like teach that. You got to find the right person who's got eyes to see the people around them. I'm sorry, please.
I'm sorry. Let me interrupt you.
Yes.
They created a private specific employee Instagram account to share these moments between each other.
Oh, cool.
And that is so energizing and makes people want to do that. So that even more than the concept is great, but it's, concepts and this idea fades if it's not upheld and continue to be shown. But whenever you share it with one another, that's whenever I think the team can really like take that energy and be like, I'm going to do something like this today, and then I'm going to share it too.
Catch the bug.
Yeah, and from just a business perspective, how amazing is it that they made a position for it? It'd be one thing to be like, all right, everybody, go above and beyond, make all these things happen, and like you have your full load of tables, and you're like, I don't have any bandwidth for this.
Yeah.
But they're like building it into their line items, their chart of accounts, if you will, to make it happen.
You might think that person that they hired for that purpose, they take all the load of going above and beyond, but it actually activates activates the rest of the team that and they're able to take on more than they even thought they could, because that inspiration and that just magnetic pull towards making people's day is like propelling them in that direction.
Many hands make light work.
Well said. Did you come up with that?
Yes, sir.
Dang, wow.
Put that in quotations.
And now on to the meat and potatoes of the program.
I'm hungry. Let's eat.
Let's eat. Juicy topic for you guys. How to get hired at Valor.
Or anywhere.
Or anywhere.
Or anywhere. But we'll just speak, for what we're looking for. And we like what we look for. So we'd like to think that these ideas are replicable to any job.
And we have a lot of people asking, how do such awesome blossom people work at your coffee shop?
It's true. People say that a lot. So let's just start off with the resume. I mean, how much do you guys care about resumes? Just, on scale 1 to 10.
I'm like
zero?
Zero to
Oh my
1.
gosh.
No way.
If you're a 0, I'm a 10.
I
in
know
that
you
case.
are. I just like balance.
What are you actually?
Probably a 7, because I would say if it wasn't for you guys, a lot of people would not get an interview here because of their resumes.
Wow.
I'm just gonna be real.
Yeah.
Okay. I made a Twitter or X thread about
made an
this
X about it.
recently, and I'm pretty impassioned about some resume and email details.
Dude, I wouldn't get hired. You wouldn't hire me. I don't know how to work a computer.
All right, that's fine, but
I'm awesome is what I'm saying.
I think that my point being, you could research and do some things that could help you get a good resume. You can buy a $10 resume template,
I think that it matters for what position you are hiring for. But like if I have 2 candidates and they're exactly the same and we're trying to hire them for pit crew, and one of the resumes has a headshot and it's colorful and they've got good experience and there's not too much content on there, and then the other person just has like a Word document with like some BS like skills on there, like hardworking and like good learner, stuff like that. I'm taking the one that has a better resume all day.
What are you telling me? You're thinking about that while you're interviewing them? Like, what if the Word document person just interviewed like a little better?
Then they win. But I'm saying if I have 2 people and then one person, 2 people that are exactly the same interview, but one person has a way better resume, then that shows me that they're putting the attention into the details and they are working for something.
What I'm saying is the way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so my entire point being, if you can't sit and I bet you I could sit down at a computer and craft a pretty dang good resume in 10 minutes. Point being,
Attached below is Riley's resume.
You say you aren't good on a computer, so maybe it takes you an hour, but like that's an hour of time you're investing into the potential of getting this new job
Or other jobs.
So I mean, yeah, the resume is one thing. I want to take a step back. Even before that, whenever that email lands in your inbox, what's the display name on your email?
Yeah.
If the display name on your email is like Flower Child 2345, I'm just like, you're not, like, that's just not professional. And that's a matter of changing something that you set whenever you were 14 years old to your first and last name. I don't even know your name from that. And again, it's just such a quick and simple fix.
And with hiring and with, interviewing people, there's only a few things that are like instant deal breakers. The rest of these things are just data points that add or subtract from your case. Mm-hmm. And so like someone can get hired if their their display name is like
Pizza Lover.
Pizza
97.
Lover 97. Like who would ever do, or like
salad.
dot salad. Like who would
Guilty.
ever do that?
I was 12.
But like if they interview awesome, it's like, yeah, that wasn't a deal breaker.
But case in point, you had a salad was your email when you were 12. Mine was like TR West 9. When I was like 17 years old, I changed my email to beep.com.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to be like beep.
Please do not email me at this.
But point being, it's much more in line with my life, my name,
Sure.
So
moving on from resumes, with this, let's talk about team fit.
don't ask about pay in the first email. I want to say that.
Yeah. Don't ask about pay in the
Unless
first
you ask
email.
it really well.
Yeah.
Like,
How would someone ask it really well?
Like they say how much they're excited for the job, and maybe they're like, hey, I want to respect your time and your company. I'm in a life season where I need to be making around this much money a month. Would this job lead to that kind of return? I would love to continue if that was the case, but I do not want to take up your time.
I respect
I would be
that.
like,
that would sound awesome, but it's never really
It's
been
not
like
in that way.
It's always like, hi, I heard that you guys are hiring. I'm interested. How much does the job pay?
Yes.
I can work on Monday to Wednesday in
Miss
the
me with that.
afternoons only.
you're like,
Something we tell people in the interviews is we're not trying to figure out if you are a good or a bad person and then hire the good people and not the bad people. We're trying to figure out if you are a good fit for our team. And so we pay attention to what this person's personality and temperament is. And sometimes I feel bad sometimes because we have passed by several great people that like fit with our company overall. But because of where our company is and because of the different personalities and temperaments on our team, we just pass on them.
Sure.
Especially if we have like again, I always think of it in terms of like if there's two candidates and they're both awesome, but one of them has a personality temperament gifting that will fit more easily with the current team we have, that they just win. And we can keep those people in mind for future opportunities, and we always do. But that goes a long way. And like if we just had a bunch of super chill people, there's nothing wrong with chill people. But if we had a bunch of like chill, introspective, introverted people on our team, then that would not be the vibe we're going for. If we had a bunch of crazy, extroverted, peppy, bubbly, super social people, that also we wouldn't be able to connect with people in the same way than if we had that diversity and representation. So that's that. I mean, any comments on that?
I would just say there's a couple different philosophies on how to really unlock someone's temperament in the interview. And we have a couple different styles. Like there's the pressure approach.
Yeah.
Where it's not an inviting environment and you're just asking hard questions.
Or it's less of an inviting.
It's more of a straightforward interview, classic. And you're trying to like get at the heart of issues and uncover who they really are. And then there's also the like, this is fun, we're just goofing around, and that kind of like the idea of I'm in an interview starts to melt away, or like this like yes ma'am, yes sir, very high hoity-toity like thing, and that starts to go away, and then you just kind of see who comes out after a little bit. And that's my philosophy. And I would say that it works because like I'm still interviewing you, but I really want to see you. I don't want to see you interviewing.
Yeah. I think some of our strongest employees ever have interviewed poorly.
Yes.
And maybe we were able to find that at the end, but one comes to mind specifically who we didn't hire him on his first round.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then when hiring came up again, we interviewed him again. And we were like, okay, we'll hire him. And then he was a rock star.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that they didn't interview well, or you can also say that we were not good interviewers.
Yeah.
Because, if I have a day of interviews and my wife is like, how are the interviews today? I don't think in terms of a good interview isn't indicated by hiring them. A good interview is indicated by your ability to perceive the person. So if I am really sure about this candidate, that was a great interview.
Yeah.
If I'm not sure about the candidate, that was a bad interview.
Yeah.
I didn't do my job. And so sure, we want it to go fast and we got positions to fill, and that weighs in too. But I think about that interview, it's we didn't do our jobs, and that it was a bad interview.
Yeah.
I wasn't in the interview, so
Yeah.
it wasn't me.
I'm sure you would have seen it.
Crushed it.
Jumping to the front of the in-person side of things, I think for me, especially with Valor, there's such a heavy emphasis on the first 5 minutes, maybe even before that, just on the first impressions, because we're in a first impressions business.
Yep.
Being in the cafe,
True.
Just the way that we come across, and that kind of tags along with fit. There's so many amazing people that maybe have a little bit of a rougher exterior, and then it's if you get to know them, they're amazing.
Yep.
But we really do want to be from the moment someone walks into our space, they feel seen, cared for, related to, and a lot of that comes out in the first couple seconds.
If you can make a good first impression in an interview, then you can make a good first impression when someone walks in the door of the cafe.
Big time.
Yeah.
Because that's hard. That's difficult. I mean, especially when we have interviews here, and it's just a brick office park that somebody's driving up to, and they just walk in super confident, and they're like, "Hey, I'm so and so."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Dang, that's hard to do."
Well, you're walking into an empty, dark room first.
Yeah.
And then you have to turn a couple corners, and you're like,
But it's almost like a test of how you react to that situation.
I like it.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
And that's again the balance and duality between applying some amount of controlled intentional pressure with the experience, and then you think of it way differently than you would a guest, where you want to minimize pressure and minimize hassle and all that. But
I remember when I was younger, I wasn't good at shaking hands. I don't know. Did you guys ever feel that? When you
Yes.
first started shaking hands, I felt rusty.
yeah,
But even with that, even when we're interviewing, people who are on the younger side, and I know I was in that situation, how they react to the awkwardness of that they feel. I don't feel awkward when I shake someone's hand. How they react to the awkwardness of the handshake is really indicative of how they will react to awkward situations in the cafe.
Yeah.
So I can think of times where I've walked up and been like, "Hey, I'm Riley. Nice to meet you," and they laugh about the handshake because it's so awkward to them, and I'm
Yeah.
just like,
I should have dapped you up.
yeah. Again, not a deal breaker, but a data
Yeah.
point.
for sure, it's a data point.
I will say, along these lines of first impressions and the interviewee coming to the interview, I don't know if we've ever hired someone that's overdressed. You think about someone putting on a suit or a really nice button up, because I know that we appreciate someone's outfit and the intention they put in, and we've not hired people for being too underdressed from time to time.
Yeah.
But there's this middle range of excellence, I would say.
It's a pretty wide range.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's pretty easy to nail.
Someone came in a full suit, I would be much more inclined to hire them than if someone came in gym shorts and flip flops. I think
would
as
agree.
a data point from
Just overall.
taking a step back. But I would say the last thing on that first impression is timeliness, and that one is huge
That's a deal breaker.
for sure.
I mean, I say it's a deal breaker, but we have hired people before that were late to the interview.
And that usually always tracks with their track record,
Yeah.
That's true.
which is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's again back to the first impression, how you do one thing's how you do everything.
But people have also been late, and they've walked in and you've been like, "Hey, I'm sorry, you're really late. This like this ship has sailed.
Yeah. The more interviews we've done, the more comfortable I have become and we have become with just like talking straight to people in a loving way, truth and love, to where like, hey, like this is an interview. This is not going to work out, but I want to tell you because I care about you and I care about you enough to tell you this for future jobs, but you were 20 minutes late to this and I have another interview after this. So I have 10 minutes to give you we can talk about, whatever, but like, I've got to get to the next thing. But it's especially with like when you're going in to open a coffee shop, like we open at 7, you have to get there at 6:30. That's a small. There's not much grace there. In other words, if you're late to that, it has a huge impact.
Yeah.
But another thing we've started to talk about more as Valor has grown as a brand is how much does this person know about our company?
Sure.
And this isn't like some narcissistic ego thing. It's just like another data point of like, if somebody really wants this job, one way to show that is if they research everything there is to know within reason about the company. And we like to be easily knowable, AKA marketing. Like we're doing this podcast. We have hours and hours of content on YouTube. Our Instagram is active. It has a bunch of followers.
Flex.
Like we have 2 cafes. We have an e-commerce web store. We have wholesale. We have a catering operation. We've got our hands in a lot of things. And whenever somebody hits up the hiring email and they say like, I want to work at your coffee shop, and they don't even know we have 2 locations, and they don't know that we have a roasting operation. They don't know we have a podcast. Like, again, I'm not like selfishly insulted or something, but it's a data point of like, this person doesn't even know. They just think they're applying to the local coffee shop. You can still get talent out of that. Like it's not a deal breaker, but it is a knock to me.
Again, if you're trying to prepare and assure that you get the job that you've applied for, how long would it take to figure out the story of Valor? I mean, it's one thing. I'm not saying you have to sit down and listen to 60 hours of our podcast.
You could. You really could.
But like, you could probably go to our about page or go to our location pages on our website and know. At that point, you'd probably know who's going to interview a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, again, in terms of just because I, have been in interviews and kind of been around this, I feel like if I was going to apply for another job at this point, I'd probably just want to try to learn as much about, first of all, the position, and then second, whoever's interviewing me.
Yeah. Hey, do you mind if I say something?
Yeah, this is how this works, man. Go for it.
Okay. I think what you were saying is great. I think there's even more emphasis on what it says about that person knowing what they're going to get themselves into, because such an easy way to like kind of put yourself up in the rankings is to know what you're looking for and know what you want out of a job.
Oh, yeah.
And asking the right questions to see if Valor is the right fit for you. Because there's only so much like push and pull here in an interview. And I'm not saying that like we feel that like, ooh, there's a little bit of a chase here. Let's see if we can get this person. But it's like this job only works if it's right for your life logistically, but also like career wise. So you're doing yourself a disfavor by not researching about the company, not figuring out who you're trying to go work for.
Yeah.
Because probably one of the biggest reasons people leave their jobs is because they don't like the people they work for or work with.
Yeah. That's why Glassdoor exists. Glassdoor?
No.
It's like if you look up any company, like bigger company, they have a glass door, and it's like employees telling their experience of working there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite interview questions is, what questions do you have for us?
For sure.
And you can tell when people have questions prepared that, that relate to just the job itself and what's the schedule look like. And that's all awesome. But it's even cooler when they ask those questions, as well as just you can sense that this person has a genuine curiosity and like intrigue for our company.
Yeah.
And it just shows that like they're excited to learn and excited to grow with us. one of the less sexy topics, but probably in the top 3 most important variables in this whole thing is the logistical fit.
Right.
And for a long time, whenever somebody would send in their resume, we would have a logistics call with them, basically just asking them like, where do they live, how much they want to work, what days are they available, and how do they view this job on their career path. And really what we're trying to learn there is, do they see themselves with us for enough time? And also, are they trying to like have a coffee career as opposed to just having a barista job while they finish school? Either is fine, but it's just good to know. So we're with that logistics call, we're able to weed out 50%, 60% of the candidates. And that way we just don't waste each other's time, because we're wasting their time and their gas money. People can drive a long way. The proximity to work, where this person lives in proximity to the cafe or wherever they're working, it's a little detail, but it especially with Atlanta traffic, it can really burn you out.
Yeah, I would say it's on like this. If there was a graph, it'd be like desire to work for Valor. The higher that is, the further away from home you can live.
Yeah.
Generally, But even then, anytime we've hired someone that lives 40 plus minutes away, that's always probably the biggest strain on their lives is the commute to work.
We often ask, do you plan to move closer to work? And then often the answer is yes. And then they do.
This is true.
I think about whenever I got hired at Chrome Yellow, I was living in Dawsonville. So I drove from Dawsonville to Atlanta to work.
Yeah. We've also started to ask, what's your transportation situation?
Yeah.
Is your car reliable? Do you have a car? And that is just something we never thought to ask. Like, I feel like until like 6 months ago or something.
Yeah.
Because that's a big thing. I mean, the classic thing with coffee shops is weekend availability, and really just the service industry in general. We're open 7 days a week. And a lot of the candidates that apply at Valor have weekend commitments, whether it's visiting family, whether it's church, whether it's, traveling, whatever it is, or if they have a side hustle, on the weekends, that totally matters. And especially since we operate on a set schedule where the schedule is the same, more or less month to month, that's a huge, very common hurdle for a lot of people. And it breaks my heart to see, just such a great candidate. And it's like, yeah, I will never work on Sundays. And it's like, yeah, I understand, but like, we have to hire the best person for our existing team. We can't hire just the best person. It's this person in front of us is only in the context of our existing team.
Yeah. I think we've kind of what you said, we've been getting better at straight talk of like, this is either going to be an uncomfortable conversation we have to have right now, or it's an uncomfortable conversation we have to have 3 months from now, 6 months from now, where you're very unhappy at your work.
Yep.
So getting some of those brass tacks out of the way can be super clutch.
Yep.
But heartbreaking.
Yes. As for their personality, this is really more than personality. It's really just like how we assess this person in general and communicate about that with each other, the other people that were in the interview. We read a book a while ago called The Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni. And he lays out the 3 things you should look for when you're interviewing. They are humble, hungry, and smart. I think we've talked about them before on the program. Smart is not necessarily book smart. It's EQ, emotional intelligence, the ability to walk into a room and perceive that room and perceive the people in there and leave it better than you found it, and how to navigate difficult conversations. Really just like general conversation, I guess.
Yes.
It speaks to EQ. So humble, hungry, smart, and then we added hang. Like, how's their hang? Because again, we're in the business of the hang. Like we're trying to create, people have told us this all the time, and it's not something we say a lot internally, but like the whole Cheers atmosphere of like everybody that works behind the bar is your friend, and you feel like a welcomed guest in someone's home. So their hang is a big part of that. And we've had seasons where we've leaned into this criteria more.
Yeah.
But which one of those 4 categories would you say that people consistently score the lowest on? Hungry, humble, smart, hang. Or do you think it's just even?
I think it's pretty even. I think it's so personality related because, I think we would all score in different orders on that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of times we get hungry people that really, really care, but they might lack humility. Or we get really humble people that might be a little self-deprecating and could maybe, and I'm talking about people we're not hiring here. They might be a little not slow to learn, but like just lack the drive and attention for detail with excellence that you might get with the hungry category.
Yeah. There's not a ton of people that hit it all right there. And I think the newer metric we've been using is our own words of excellence and empathy.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out if that was a Venn diagram, what are those words in between that really define what we're looking for in an ideal pit crew or someone working for Valor. And I think what's good to note, and you said, is like not everybody's going to nail it, but part of it is perceiving who they are and believing, can we help take them to the next level? Like, do we have the tools to empower them to grow in their, the humble, the excellence, the empathy, the smart, the hungry. Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of that has to do with what our current team makeup is. Is our team in a place to take on someone that is lacking experience or just kind of green and turn them into something that is better?
Perfect example to wrap this up. Jalen Carter going to the Eagles.
Wow.
He had character issues.
Yeah.
But I think the Eagles have what he needs to develop as a leader and a player.
I would agree. That really is a good example.
And I'm glad he didn't go to the Falcons for that reason, but I hope he shines in Philly.
Calais could have helped him out in Atlanta.
True.
This is true.
Hey, last up, coffee experience. What do you think about that?
It's becoming more and more appreciative, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't think because we've solidified ourselves more as a brand or a system. We believe in our processes more to like work with people who've had prior experiences. I would say coffee experience is probably like a 2. Coffee interest is a 1, and then like no coffee experience. If you don't have coffee interest or coffee experience, I think that's starting to rule people out more.
Yep.
But if you have coffee experience but not coffee interest, that's an interesting thing to glean and try to figure out. But I think we've seen it before. It's like, I just work in coffee shops. That's just what I've done, and I'm going to keep doing that because it's easy. But it's like, do you actually think coffee's cool, and do you care?
Do you drink coffee?
You drink coffee, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, back to the whole if you had 2 candidates thing. If you had 2 candidates and they're both awesome, one had coffee experience, we're taking the one that had coffee experience all day. Just like if they were truly equal in all forms.
Because, it's an interesting skill set. You don't know how someone's going to take to rocking the bar, and that acclimation period can go for a while.
Yeah, and it goes back to if you're considering hiring someone without coffee experience, you have to ask yourself, similarly to the last topic we covered, do we have the systems and training and capacity and time in place right now to take someone and make them great at coffee?
For sure.
And there's been seasons where we truly don't have that capacity. Yeah. And then there's been seasons where we do. And we're trying to make it to where we there's not a season either way. It's like we can handle either, and we have the people and systems in place to make that stuff happen.
That's good.
So how to get hired at Valor.
Yeah, or anywhere.
Or anywhere.
Yeah, if you've made it to this part of the podcast and you are applying at Valor, then congrats. You have a good starting basis, but we're gonna figure some out. Got some questions in the interview to make it hard on you anyways. Oh man, yeah. And if you tell us that you listen to this podcast, then that's probably a good thing on your side as well.
Great.
So, well, thanks for listening, y'all. Hope this helps. If you're looking to hire people or if you're looking to get hired, drop us a review on Spotify.
If you're looking to get hired, drop a
Sorry,
review.
full stop. End of sentence. Comma. No, not comma.
Semicolon.
Period.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a review on Spotify. Give us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you've already done one, maybe you could go do the other as well. If you're a super fan.
It's the least you could do. This is free.
Like
Come
it on YouTube. Comment your favorite thing about Ethan's shirt.
Because there's a lot of things happening.
There's a lot going on. But in the
way my
meantime,
muscles pop out of this shirt.
we'll catch you guys next week, Thursday at 6 a.m. Love y'all.
See you then.